text him a couple times, but I'm going to go ahead and start recording because here's the thing. Yeah, do me a favor. Introduce yourself for the listeners at home. Say who you are, what you do, where you are, blah, blah, blah.
Okay. You don't want me to first change the lighting real quick?
Yeah, change the lighting first and then come back.
Okay. You're okay. You're not using up your time here?
No, I don't give a fuck.
Okay.
I don't care.
Okay,
Go change the lighting, man. I think you look great, but do what you got to do.
Okay, well, if it's fine, yeah, I look a little harsh, that's all. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love the reels, man. Your little suite there is nice.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah. Well, okay, I'll just go with this then. Yeah, I don't look too harsh now. Okay.
Nah. You look kind of like '90s indie rock.
Yeah, I wore my turtleneck.
Right.
Yeah, there's a story there, but yeah.
Hey, do me a favor, Mark.
My serious filmmaker look.
Right, it's good stuff.
No,
it
honestly,
really is.
I bought this because I wanted to. Well, okay, you want me to introduce myself? Okay.
Yes.
I'm Mark Hood from Cincinnati, Ohio. And I'm a filmmaker is probably why I'm on this show. And I'm also.
No, it's because you're my dad's neighbor.
Yeah, I'm your dad's neighbor, which is, I'll show you what I've got here. But no, I just joked, like, I don't know, like the 90s, right? I remember wearing turtlenecks all the time. And then this spring, I guess, before COVID, I guess it was maybe like early March.
Right.
Perhaps February. I actually auditioned for a movie.
Really? Which one?
Yeah,
what movie was it?
Well, it was for a short film. Like a friend of mine who was the director.
Right.
It was like, to me, an opportunity to like get exposed to that, to just auditioning and that. I mean, I've been working in documentaries, and I'm like.
Well, I was going to say the other side of the camera.
Right. Exactly. So I just feel like, I wanted to round out my experience a little bit, and it was like about as safe as it gets to audition. And the role was for a theater director, not a college professor. Very similar.
Like a community theater, like a repertory kind of, right?
Exactly,
Gotcha.
community theater director. And so I was like, do they even still sell turtlenecks? I mean, I guess I see like, I was wondering that, right?
They do. They're out there. People love them still. They're still there.
Well, I don't know if they're just like carryovers from like 20 years ago. You know what I mean? Like some people don't update their wardrobe. They just hold on to it, like.
See, that's the thing, though, is the thing about turtlenecks, when they really had their heyday from the 60s into the 70s especially, everything was made with so much plastic in those days that you're probably wearing a sweater that was made in 1972.
There you go. Okay.
No, I don't know.
I like it.
It's never been my thing. I'm one of those fortunate individuals whose eyes are really close to the top of their head. So if I wear a turtleneck and I get my hair cut short enough, I look exactly like a chimpanzee.
Very cool. Okay. Yeah. You could consider that.
What it is. No, here's the thing. Yeah. So literally, within the last hour, I was next door to your house drinking Jameson and Guinness with my dad.
Okay.
And and I actually thought I might see you and wave at you and stuff, but so you've seen some of these. You know what I'm doing. I'm just talking to people about those weird times we're living in. But you're in a particularly unique circumstance because you did this whole like labor of love thing and you put it together. And then right when things were starting to kind of move and you were getting some action on it, we had the pandemic. Right. So do me a favor. You made a movie. Just go ahead and tell the story. You made this movie, and then I have some questions because I've always been curious. You made a movie called Hard Face, and it's about a local Cincinnati boxing club that is now defunct.
Right.
Yeah, there it is.
Check it out. I just got the Blu-ray.
Right.
And the DVD made.
Look at that shit. Well, do me a favor right now while you have those. Can people order those from you?
They can order these right now at the website, hardfacemovie.com.
Hardfacemovie.com. All one word, HARDFACEMOVIE.com.
.com. That's right. Right. You can also still.
It's a good movie. It's a good movie.
Yeah, you've seen it. You've seen it. Thank you very much. Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah.
No, I enjoy it very much.
Yeah, I appreciate it. All the feedback. I'll tell you more about the movie, but I love even negative feedback on the movie because even if somebody, not negative, but like critical, because some people are just they just take movies seriously. I love people like that. And they give me very critical feedback. With some of it, at first I was like, ooh, that kind of hurt. But then I was like, you know what? These people are judging my movie in the
Right?
same league as every other movie. That's great,
Yeah, they watched it and they paid attention and they have an opinion about it. No, that goes back to a thing. I played in local bands for years and years and years.
Right.
And one of the guys I've played with the most, a guy named Steve Gurdon, great songwriter. You love him. But him and I got into an argument years ago once when I said this to him. I said, the people that tell me they hated my band are the people I know are telling me the truth. They're the ones that paid attention and gave me a truly objective opinion. But I was just curious, and I think I've asked you this before, but I'm such a numbnuts, I don't remember what the answer is. How does a guy like you, now, did you grow up in Cincinnati?
I did. Not far from where I live.
But see, that's the thing is, I remember local boxing clubs like back in the 90s when I was a heroin addict. I remember actually scoring drugs, going to a local boxing venue, and it would be like a gym. And I know one of them was like a Northside KFC event, and the thing that struck me about it is it would be this, a total amateur boxing venue. The crowd might be 100 strong on a good night kind of thing. But I went to this. And, obviously I didn't know anybody in the ring, but the crowd was dressed like they were going to a prom or a wedding. It was just this astonishing array of people that were dressed completely to the nines to go watch two local amateurs with high hopes beat the crap out of each other in a gym somewhere in Northside. How does someone like you, attach yourself to this kind of culture? What made you want to tell the story of this particular boxing club in this particular circumstance?
Yeah. Well, you mentioned something interesting there, that boxing kind of brings that glamour and that red carpet.
Yeah, for some reason. You got to dress up to go watch people beat the fuck out of each other.
Right. Yeah, I was at a boxing match at the casino, and it was
the one that's downtown now. So like in the last decade.
Yeah, in the last 5 years, I actually went with Hard-Faced Mason. He's featured in the movie.
Nice.
We went together, and I finagled press passes, right? Since I'm a filmmaker and
right. You've got cred. Yeah.
So we were sitting in the press box, and there were some VIP seats right in front of us. And what I'm getting at is that these two well-dressed women sit down right in front of us, well-dressed. Everybody, it's the casino. I mean, everybody, even though there's some pro fights, but there's a lot of fights throughout the night.
Sure.
And
amateur cards from the area.
Yeah. And then I think when the first heavyweight fight came up, it was like the fourth fight of the night.
Right. And everyone's half drunk at this point.
This guy gets him on the ropes right in front of us, gets the other guy on the ropes, and he just starts pummeling him. And this blood or sweat, this pink
some fluid
water is showering on these two women sitting there in the VIP seats.
Right.
I remember thinking it was they need the Gallagher plastic or something like that. I felt bad. I was like, I'm glad we're not sitting that close.
Right. Acting with their hairspray.
Yeah. It's a brutal sport. It's something that, I never consider myself a tough kid growing up. Right. I mean, I grew up here in College Hill. But I had a suburban upbringing, right? I mean,
I don't know if College Hill counts as suburban. I mean, there's a lot of inner city quality. I grew up in College Hill too. There's a lot of inner city qualities to College.
There are. Yeah. Enough to make you feel maybe you've seen some things, but
right.
I guess, fairly sheltered upbringing. I guess boxing is a poor man's sport. It's always seen as that.
Well, it's because it doesn't require anything. It just requires two people in a ring.
Right.
Or even not even a ring, a border.
Yeah. But even throughout history, it's always, I think, been seen as kind of a potential way out of a life of poverty. I guess any sport.
Sure.
But boxing has, to me, an amazing range of potential where, I mean, you have I think in 2018, when Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao were at their peak. Right.
The pay-per-view peak, anyway.
Call that maybe, what's that?
The pay-per-view peak, anyway.
The pay-per-view peak, let's say that.
Right.
When they should have fought. What was the pay-per-view fight? Was that 2017, 2016, 17?
Yeah, there were two, weren't there?
Yeah. Well, anyways, one of those years in there, I saw the list of the 100 highest paid athletes in the world.
Right.
And I believe that Mayweather and Pacquiao were like 1 and 2. And then you did some like, Ronaldo, some like top soccer stars.
Right.
American sports started trickling in there, but there were no other boxers on that list. But
right.
there were either 1 and 2 or in like, I think Floyd's number 1, but Pacquiao was like in the top 5.
Sure.
So, I mean, that just shows you like the potential of boxing, to me, similar to filmmaking in some sense, where you have the huge range of the DIY indie filmmaker with his iPhone to somebody with $100,000 budget to sky's the limit.
Right.
But what brought me to the project was really, as a documentary filmmaker, I'm looking at things locally that I can take advantage of.
Right.
Things
There's a story in.
Yeah, things that there are a story here that if you were in LA, you couldn't tap into
right.
Something unique. And I've always been intrigued with boxing. I went to Sands Montessori when it was downtown, and the exit is the Western Row exit on 75 coming from College Hill. The next exit is Ezra Charles Drive.
Right.
And my whole life, there was that intrigue, that there was this association with Cincinnati, the West End, boxing, Ezra Charles, and it.
Now, when you were going to school down there, were the projects still there right off Ezra Charles behind Music Hall?
Yeah, but we would walk to the Boys and Girls Club on Liberty, but that was walking east.
Right.
So I don't know if I'm sure that, that was, that was the 80s. So yeah.
I was down in the area at the same time. Yeah, no, that's the 80s. That was the thing, is Ezra Charles Drive ran from Music Hall to Union Terminal. And the entire south side of that street was all these government-funded, subsidized Section 8 housing.
Right.
And I can't remember what the projects were called, but it was, and the thing about that whole street being named Ezra Charles, I mean, this person was a hero of the lower classes of Cincinnati for, the last 20 years. I mean, I don't even remember when, because my family moved here in the 70s. I think it was Ezra Charles then. When was Ezra's heyday? I don't even know.
Well, his heyday was really, he fought over like 3 decades in like the 30s, 40s, and 50s. I mean, he is, there's a great biography about him by author by the name of William Detloff.
Right.
And Detloff is a seasoned writer from Ring Magazine, which is like the Bible of boxing.
He's a boxing dude.
He's a boxing guy. And people ask him, why did you want to write this book? I mean, what is significant about Ezra Charles? And really, he believes that Ezra Charles is the greatest light heavyweight champion ever.
Really?
And yeah, he had a lot of, there's things that when I hearing about Ezra Charles' life, that reminds me of Richard Mason's life, in the sense that you look at their record and you might think, oh, well, there were some losses in there. But if you look at the context, a lot of fighters at certain points in their career are asked to fight maybe bigger guys, or jump up in weight classes for the purse or whatever.
For the purse, so that's the whole thing. That's the
right,
for the purse, to see how many people want to watch that.
Right. So there's a lot of things that go on in boxing. There's a lot of politics, and historically, there's a lot of guys who are thrown into fights that in an ideal world they would probably rather not fight in.
Right. Yeah. Like another weight class, for example.
Right. But what I saw with like that Ezra Charles, I guess just that the name of the exit, and not really even knowing who he was until I was an adult, really.
Right.
He really isn't even been appreciated, even though he has a street in Cincinnati.
Right.
Until really more recently, I'd say. You've heard about the statue that's going up on Ezra Charles Drive there at Laurel Park.
It's funny you say it, Laurel Park, because the Laurel Homes was the name of the project I was talking about. No, I didn't know. They're going to put a statue of him up?
They're putting a statue up, yep.
That's sweet.
Yeah. So, of course, everything's been a little bit complicated with the pandemic. But things have been moving along. So I'm actually looking to shoot a short piece. I've been in contact with the artist, the sculptor.
Who made the Ezra Charles statue? Okay.
He's still working on it.
Is he local?
He's local. Yep.
Awesome.
Yep. John Heaton Street. So you might know him. I don't know.
I know the name. I have actually heard the name, but I don't know why.
Yeah, he's from a family of artists. I believe his mother and father are artists, and his sister is an artist.
Right on.
Yeah, but it's interesting to me, and I kind of see that as like a something maybe I can pair with Hard Face. It kind of is in this.
Sure, a
Yeah, it's in
touchstone
the
of
Cincinnati
the
boxing.
yeah, the boxing, legacy that's here. I think it's
Right.
really intriguing that you got drawn to the idea of doing a thing on local boxing by just a highway entrance ramp. I mean, there's streets named all over America, and I don't think a lot of people think too much about why or who or what the point is.
Yeah.
And Ezra Charles is a really good example of that. But
Yeah.
so you decide you want to make a thing about Cincinnati boxing. What drew you specifically to the North Side Boxing Club? Did you know somebody, or did you just have a connection there?
Gotcha. I had a friend of mine actually,
Yeah.
who was about 10 years younger than me. So he was approaching 30,
Uh-huh.
and he was boxing. He was boxing as an amateur. And I talked to him, and he would, put his fights up on YouTube.
What was his name?
He even had a knockout in a fight, and he was like telling, sending it to everybody. And,
A YouTube knockout he's sending to everybody? Look at my boxing career. What was his name?
Right. Bedford Adams.
Okay.
Yeah, Bedford Adams. Great guy.
It's a great name.
And, yeah. We call him BJ. He goes by
Right
BJ.
on.
Yeah. So this was, I guess, like 2012, and that was really I was becoming more and more of an adult fan of boxing.
Sure.
And just started to think. I've always been inspired by HBO and Showtime's original programming. As a documentary filmmaker, all their behind-the-scenes stuff. They're making a 24/7 series. If you're familiar with that, they would do like 4-part, half-hour episodes of both camps leading up to a big fight.
Right.
And they'd run that for like the 4 weeks up to the fight. And I just loved everything about it. And I thought, I want to make a movie that HBO or Showtime is going to like, that they're going to buy or something.
Have you sent it to them yet?
And, I haven't like exactly approached them, have I?
I don't know.
There's a lot I could go into on the technical side, but we licensed a couple songs. You're a musician, you know how this kind of works. Gets kind of sticky with licensing music.
Sure. Yeah.
We licensed 2 songs, which got a little complicated when it came down to the back end of selling it as an asset.
Sure.
Because wherever you put the film, if it's in a film festival, it's a certain cost for the license. If you print DVDs or Blu-rays, it's a whole different
right. It's a different animal
tier.
So you got to approach it. You got to approach those permissions with every single circumstance you're using them in.
Right. So I'm glad that we kind of I've negotiated with Sony Music Entertainment. I mean, but I don't recommend it as somebody on my level of filmmaking,
You don't recommend it.
Right, because they don't really have a whole lot of patience. I mean, when you consider who their normal clientele is, they don't have a whole lot of patience for your little sob story about why you can't afford,
a
15% increase for the next year.
Right, isn't the bottom line of the whole thing pay us?
Exactly, right. We're kind of looking at me like, do you see where, we didn't become this mega corporation from
people not paying us.
Right.
So you shot most of this movie in what, like 16, 17, right? I mean, didn't you do most of the principal?
I actually shot most of it in 13 and 14.
Holy shit! See,
I know
it was a minute ago,
that's one of the biggest goals you want to have as a filmmaker, which I've learned is to you want to try your best to keep the budget low and make the movie as fast as possible.
Right.
But it's amazing the filmmakers I talk to about the failures that I think I had.
Right.
And they look at me and they're like, "But Mark, you made a movie. It's done. It's finished. It's on the disc right here."
Right.
And to them, they're like, "You are 100 steps ahead of me." And when you hear that, you're like, "Okay, well, that makes me feel good." Even though it took me a long time, probably spent more of my own money than I wanted.
Look who's joined us. Wait, hang on really quick.
Yeah.
NIgel just joined us.
All right.
Hey, what's up, man?
As he's logging on. NIgel, nice.
NIgel, how are you, man?
I'm good, man. My bad. I just looked down at my phone. I was like, "Oh shit!"
It's all good. I run the 45-minute limit kind of thing. And just real quick, I want to give you the disclaimer. I've been doing this, so just so you know, this is being recorded. I'm going to post it publicly on Facebook and on a YouTube channel. So censor yourself as you see fit.
Okay, cool.
Hey,
Good-
really
good
quick.
to know.
Well, I'll wait till Mark gets back, but as soon as he gets back, I want you to like introduce yourself, say who you are, what you do, and where you are.
Okay, here, let me put a shirt on.
Well, I don't know. I kind of like the shirt you're wearing.
He's fine. Yeah.
No, this is cool because I was
I
literally
like
just
this.
getting ready to ask you because we were talking about when you did the principal photography on this, and one of the reasons I wanted Nigel to
Do
be
you
on
care
the
about the
conversation.
background?
No, I don't give a fuck, man. I don't care. As long as you don't care, I don't care.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, but Nigel, do me a favor. Tell the listeners at home who you are, what you do, and where you are, as much as you're willing, anyway.
Okay. My name's Nigel. I work at Storyteller. I'm the studio director there. Yeah. So yeah.
Good enough. Good enough. So Mark and I were just talking about the movie you made, Hardface, and I know you and I talked about this for a little bit. By the way, Mark, I want you to know that Nigel really felt like he should see your movie before he should be on here with you.
Oh,
The thing is, I have a copy of it, Nigel. I'll make sure you get it. But we were just talking about when he did his principal photography on this thing, and this was one of the things that I wanted you to talk to him about because I knew you'd be really intrigued about this. Tell Nigel what you told me about how you shot this all on film and then converted to digital for editing.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was like the thing that got me into filmmaking is shooting on film. So for me, like, that's the exciting part. I just think it's so cool when it's like back to music. It's like recording on tape, right?
Yeah,
As
analog.
opposed to like Pro Tools, digital. There's a difference. And some musicians don't care, but a lot of them do. And they feel like there's a big difference, especially with like rock and roll, for instance, a warmth to the tracks, right?
Ceiling.
So film, yeah, right, yeah. So film to me is like, if you shoot on film, you got nothing to worry about. It might be a crappy movie, but it looks like a movie, you know. So and
Yeah.
really like this.
There's not much room for error with that, though. That's another thing that I tip my hat to you because
Right.
shooting on film, I mean, you get spoiled. I mean, you can't adjust the exposure. You know, it's a lot you can do with a digital camera that you can't do on film. So.
You're right.
Cool.
You're right. No, there's a lot of cool shots that I thought I had that were like a little out of focus. Because with a film camera, like I guess it happens with digital cameras, but you have this weird like latency issue where in low light, what looks in focus through your viewfinder isn't going to be in focus on the film. So it gets a little complicated. But I had some growing pains there. But for me, like the benefit was. You had less footage to go over. One of the issues with shooting digital is you have like
less footage.
200 hours of footage, and it's like, whoa, So for me, it's sometimes it was just kind of fun to try to like, once you kind of exhausted the budget and you shot what you could afford to shoot and you did your best in capturing as much of the shots you needed, is getting in the editing room or whatever and trying to piece it all together and knowing that this is all you really got unless you want to buy more film. So it gives you some, like, I guess it gives you some creative limitations, and that can help creatively, right? I don't know. Yeah.
That's the thing is you drew the parallel between like audio and video as well.
Right.
Nigel, tell Mark the story. Nigel was a boom operator for many years for professional films. And then when he got this job that he has now as Storyteller, he literally had to turn himself. Nigel, I'm sorry, I shouldn't tell this story. Tell this story. Nigel had to turn himself into a studio director and a videographer and all this other stuff in a really short time period.
Yeah,
Nice.
YouTube was my friend. You can learn anything on YouTube these days. But I mean, I was lucky. I had been around it my whole life. I know sound inside and out, but I've watched other, sitting on set. I mean, you're sitting around a lot, so you kind of, bullshit with people, and yeah, exactly. So, I'd been around it, so it's not. I had that going for me, but that was about it. Just the general knowledge.
But that was about it.
Yeah.
Is that about it? So Nigel, to give Mark a little bit, I don't know how detailed you want to be, but give him a little bit of background to how you kind of got thrown to the wolves and were expected to produce quality video in a short time period.
Yeah, well, we kind of had. I mean, you were a big help in that. I mean, we kind of went through it together, you know. So
I want it to be
take
your
all the
story,
credit.
though. I want it to be your story.
Yeah. I mean, I just can't take all the credit, you know. I don't know. I mean, you really were instrumental in building that too, you know.
Yeah. Mark, Nigel and I
you know,
worked
it was
together.
just a trial and error thing.
You did what together?
Fortunately,
I was working for a company at the same company I work for now, where we sell real estate software, and they launched this side division called Storyteller, which was going to be this video. It still is. I shouldn't say it's going to be. It was a video component for marketing for real estate agents, and
Okay.
yeah. And Nigel and I worked together at a restaurant, and I knew he had this background with audio engineering as far as a boom operator in movies and so on and so forth. But and I don't know why he's playing so modest now, but the guy came rolling in and I did help, you know, I was there making suggestions and stuff, but he had to take over essentially a video studio and make it something that was going to be viable and work and choose the right equipment and find the right techniques and stuff. And I watched the guy turn himself into a director in like 3 or 4 months. And I liked how he's being so modest about it, but he really did, like, you know, just pick up a lot of skills and a lot of techniques, like right out of the gate, to try and make it work. And he's making it work now. He's still doing it for a living.
Dude, that's awesome. That's super awesome, man. Yeah, I didn't know that you had that audio background. I think we got to collaborate here. That's that's
I'm second generation. My dad's
hey, Christine.
He's a sound mixer. So
oh, really?
Say hi to Scott.
Really quick. Hey, Christine, how are you?
I got my AirPods on. I can't hear you.
Oh, that's all right. I'm not saying anything important anyway.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, yeah, I know a few audio guys in town, but I mean, there's just so much that I've learned. I mean, I have my own audio equipment, and a lot of the audio for Hardface was done by people I trained with just, you know, my own equipment. But I really see the value of probably hiring somebody like Nigel or working with somebody like Nigel on that, because sound is really it's half of it, right? It's half of any video work.
Well, people also have the, you know, they have the illusion that, oh, you can fix it in post, and people really like to put it off. But you know, it makes a world of difference just getting it on the day and not having to worry about it. You know, I've had so many nightmares with audio, and you would think being a sound guy, all my audio would be perfect, but it's not. I mean, you have so much, you know, being a one-man band, it's just so hard.
There's too many fucking variables.
Yeah. I mean, you got to worry about the script, and a lot of what I do is teleprompted too. So I got to feed a teleprompter and then, you know, keep one eye on the monitor, one on the teleprompter, and, you know, and be listening for noises and stuff. So, but yeah, it's so nice to have good, clean audio to start with. When you don't, it's hard to fix.
But that goes back to what Mark was saying before. I personally, I find it astounding that you elected to shoot on film. I understand the dream and the goal and the intrinsic integrity of film and so on and so forth.
Right.
You know, but what you were saying, you get to the editing suite and that's all you've got left is what you've shot and so on and so forth. And it does seem like that nowadays, because of the capabilities, you know, like Nigel and I were shooting stuff on digital camera. What are they called, Nigel? Sony A7s or whatever.
Yeah.
Mirrorless. But so we're just, you know, you're using digital, and that's the thing is, you know, obviously time constraints notwithstanding. I mean, nowadays, you know, the way it is it's like you get this giant volume of information, whether it's audio or video or whatever, and you end up with enough that you damn well probably have something that's worthwhile versus having to work with what you ended up with, you know?
Right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's like I said, I mean, that sense of adventure for me, and not really. I mean, part of Hardface, if you recall, we filmed in California, and I made a detailed list. I was so worried about flying all my equipment to California,
right?
Getting like one important cable or something like that, you know.
Right.
And then you know, these film cables, right? You can't just go to Best Buy and pick one up. So, but I am in California, but. I guess when I'm there in the boxing tournament in California, filming, knowing everything at stake, even down to like is everything in focus. And we only have so much film to shoot, and we're all in California. That's exciting to me. You know, that is, that's exhilarating to know those factors are at play. And it gives me this great sense of vitality as a filmmaker. And if you're not having fun, feeling alive as a filmmaker,
why do it?
Unless you have like a well-paying day job as a filmmaker. I know good friends, but for me, I mean, I did this movie on spec. I raised some money through crowdfunding, and I supplemented, basically kind of matched with my own money, which is not typically recommended. Well, what's really not recommended is to go into debt for your own.
Right. Yeah. You don't run up 10 credit cards to make a movie unless you're pretty confident.
Yeah. But I don't know. I guess I'm not a traditionalist as far like don't have a whole lot of set experience, but I look at that kind of thing as like as a positive and a negative, an advantage and a disadvantage. Just like a musician who is self-taught has certain an unbridled, perhaps is a little bit more unbridled and open creatively than somebody who's classically trained and their mind is so narrow and they have a hard time getting outside of what they've been trained to do.
Sure.
I guess I try to look at myself as a filmmaker like that sometimes. And I wonder if I were, maybe the only reason that Hard Face exists is because I was crazy enough to make it, you know?
Right.
And, so.
Just why the fuck not? NIgel, I gotta make sure you get a copy of it. It's
I will.
Good film.
Yeah, I'd like to check it out. So where did you how did you get that film processed? Because I don't think, to my knowledge, in Cincinnati, they don't have any more places to do that, do they? Right.
Well, what's funny is in the process of shooting the film, that situation changed. We started out processing in Chicago through a company called Filmworkers, and Filmworkers has a few locations in the country, Chicago, Dallas, and I think one other place. Well, they closed the film lab in Chicago halfway through production, so then we started having to ship everything to Dallas. But by the time we were done shooting the movie, they didn't even have the capability of processing our film anymore. All they could do, they had a scanner where they could scan process film. So we had to send it, it was already processed at that time. Right now, it's better now than it even was then. That's the good news. Because now Kodak they kind of had a reboot in the motion picture division, and they bought up a bunch of labs. So now I can just send everything to Atlanta, Kodak Atlanta.
I didn't think Kodak even existed anymore.
Than when I did it 5 years ago.
No shit.
Really?
The reason is because 5 years ago, I negotiated like a flat rate for, let's say, like 50 cans of film from Kodak. I contacted a sales rep with Kodak, and I got a little bit of a price break. So then I contacted the post-production house and said, I'm going to shoot 50 rolls of film. Let's work out a flat rate for you guys to do the daily. So that's somebody putting it and developing it like you would any film, but then putting it in the scanner and pulling HD footage from the footage. So
you have digital files.
Digital files, exactly.
Right.
To edit with. Right. And so that's a colorist who's doing that. And the going rate for colorists is typically about $400 an hour.
I might be in the wrong business. So, can I do that? Can I set up a little thing here with my laptop?
That's the thing now. So colorists, even 5 years ago, I didn't really know any colorists locally. Now that software enhancements have happened and all this stuff, I know local colorists. So what Kodak will do now, if I shot some film today, I would mail it to Kodak Atlanta with a hard drive, and they would process it as flat scans. So what that means is the colorist isn't taking up a whole lot of time and tuning everything. He's kind of giving you something flat. Things look maybe a little bit milky, but you can edit with that. And then when you finish editing, then you can pay a colorist that $400 an hour rate to tweak every little scene.
Right. Yeah, it's like mastering.
Yeah, you don't want to waste that on the pared down.
Right, on the dailies. But but typically in the past, what they would do, because you're spending a decent amount of money, they would kind of do something in between the flat pass and the full color correction. They would kind of go rough each one to kind of make it look pretty good.
So you could get a sense of what it would look like when they did master it.
Yeah. But what's great now is what happened with Hard Face is we shot 50 rolls of film. I negotiated a flat rate with Filmworkers to develop
how many minutes a roll?
11 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah. For a 400-foot roll. My camera uses 400-foot rolls. Yeah.
Where's your camera?
You want to see it?
I do.
Okay.
I want to see it.
Okay.
I do. I want to see it.
That's cool that you own your own camera.
This is so funny. I was literally, he's at home. I was literally right next door to my dad's. He lives right next door to my dad.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. He's doing this crazy thing where he's, I'll ask him about it when he comes back if you want to, but he's doing this thing where he's doing this like, eco renew thing with his yard where he's changing everything. So like environmentally, self-sufficient.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. He's going to get a beehive here in a second.
So,
Sorry, Mark. I'm talking shit about you.
So let me finish this point. So we did like 50 rolls of film.
Uh-huh.
And it was when I was in California. I was like, I don't have enough film. I spent money. I flew me and 2 crew members out to California.
Right.
I was like, I need to just shoot more film while we're here. So I overnighted some film from Kodak. What does that mean? I had to contact film workers and say, oh, by the way, I've got another 6 rolls. How much is that going to cost? So I had to renegotiate with them. What's great now with Kodak kind of running the lab is no matter how many rolls I shoot, I just send them in with the hard drive and get the flat scans. I just feel like it's just more budget friendly in the sense that if you own a camera and you can shoot very slowly and just do it by how you can afford it. You know, you can do like 1 can of film, 2 cans of film at a time.
Do you actually have a developed film? Do you have a projectable film, or do you not only have anything but the digital files?
Well, that's funny you say that. I just had that made, which is another thing that was unheard of even like 10 years ago. I mean, it's not
the ability to do that, to be able to make a projectable film anymore?
Right. Well, there's a company in London called CPC. CPC London.
Of course, it's in London.
Right. They're great though. They've made it affordable. And this summer they ran like because of the pandemic, a ridiculous deal. Okay. My film, I mean, I'll just tell you, I mean, my film is a little under, it's 83 minutes.
Yeah, I was going to say 90.
And they were offering anything under 90 minutes. I mean, it was like $1,500 to $2,000, you know, which is like back in the day, you could not get a film print made for something like that. I feel like, and but that making a 35 millimeter film print is what I have now of hard face. And that is considered always as the gold standard of archival format, because
that 35 millimeter print.
It'll outlast any kind of nuclear Armageddon. We can rig together a mechanical projector or something and watch the film.
You got this, Nigel. Well, at the end of the world, which is going to be this next spring, probably.
Yeah,
we're all going to be able to get together and project
this
film. Yeah, we're going to be able to project this film in my driveway. Show us this camera, Mark. Nigel's intrigued too. Is that a Guinness? Here, pour me one.
It's a Guinness. Yep. So this is my camera right here.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So this is an Arri. This is an Arri SR2 high speed. And I got 2 magazines. This camera was manufactured in 1988. I've got a really sneaking suspicion that this very camera was used on many of PBS Nature programming.
Oh, right on.
Almost all that wonderful like Nova and Nature stuff from the 80s and 90s.
Do you think that because there's like bat guano in the seams of the
That's
camera?
right. Yeah. I want to say something weird happened where the serial number of my camera, I found it somewhere online, and it was a shooter who had done work with PBS. So the high-speed camera will go to 120 frames per second to give you some like really milky slow motion, in-camera slow motion. That's what this camera was like designed for. But you know, this camera was probably it was probably retailed for like $25,000 in 1998.
No shit.
Yeah, but I bought this in 2012 for like less than a third of that.
Wow.
Now, so it's aged, but you know, these are German-made cameras. These things are you can shoot in the Arctic, you could shoot in the desert. They're made out of metal. I mean, I love going somewhere public with this camera because it's
you look like a fucking pro.
Yeah, well, yeah, or even yeah, but nowadays, like cameras look different, professional cameras, right? Like people might expect some fancy like gimbal rig, right, with an A7 or something. But no, you're right. Like people, they start to wonder, like, what the hell is that? You know, this big machine gun looking piece of metal. So it's cool. It makes me feel. I feel like whenever, like I said, shooting in California with all the things that could go wrong, I felt very confident because I felt like I had like guardian angels, right? I mean, all the shooters from the past to appreciate shooting on film. And I see that in a lot of old school shooters. I mean, I got some old school shooters in town I know who, because I own a film camera and I'm trying to do this, they've given me lenses, they've given me batteries, stuff, because they're like,
you're an adherent. You're one of the disciples.
Right. Exactly.
I bet
exactly.
Nigel. I bet your dad's a real film disciple, isn't he?
What do you mean by disciple?
So someone who feels like that's the way it's done. I'm sorry. You know, you mentioned this really briefly, but Mark doesn't know. You mentioned before that you kind of grew up in the film industry. Tell him a little bit about your dad and how you ended up being a boom operator.
Oh, yeah, that was kind of another terrifying job. Oh, did I lose you guys?
No, we're with you.
It was kind of a sink or swim deal. He actually, I booked me. Well, actually, that's not true. My first job, I was like 13, and they were doing.
Which in and of itself is hilarious.
Well, remember when they built the Freedom Center downtown?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's a little video that plays when you visit that museum. And
About the construction?
No, it's about the Underground Railroad.
Oh, okay.
And I was pulling cable on that for the camera department on their they had a bunch of big long dolly shots, and I was just running cable and helping my dad out here and there. I was making $50 a day. That was my day rate for 14 hours. But it was cool, you know. And that kind of got me familiar with it. And then my first day booming, my dad was just like, "Oh, you're my boy. You'll figure it out." He just kind of put it in my hands. It was luckily it wasn't a huge deal. It was a local spot for like P&G or something. But yeah, that was a real terrifying sink or swim type thing, you know. And the
trial
first
by
like
fire,
hour.
man,
what's that?
Trial by fire, man. It's sometimes it's the best way.
It you know, it was a good way to get my feet wet, I guess. But yeah, it was cool. Yeah, I'll never forget that shoot. Oprah was the last piece she did, like just kind of like an intro for the video. And it was funny. It was about you know, the Underground Railroad and how these people had to really suffer to make it this far and all that stuff. And the day we shot with her, they had to help. It was we shot at the actual cabin where
the Harry Beecher Stowe thing or whatever.
Yeah, something like that. And they had to helicopter Oprah in because like the roads, and they couldn't get stuff up there. She was there for an hour, and they brought a private chef. They had to helicopter in all this furniture and all this stuff and build a green. They put up like a circus tent to build a green room for her. Done all these Oriental rugs, these nice, you know. She didn't even.
So she was there for an hour.
Yeah, they spent like $10,000 building this tent for her just so she'd have a green. It was crazy. I've never been around somebody with like Oprah money. You know what I mean? It's like, wow.
Right.
You know?
Oprah money. It's its own thing. It's absolutely its own thing. That's the thing. Yeah, Nigel has more brushes with greatness than anyone else I know. He's mic'd up half naked Scarlett Johansson before.
All right. Nice. Yeah, it sounds like you were in that heyday of like, don't they talk about like commercial productions even from like, you know, 10, even 15, 20 years ago? The budgets were like pretty mega big,
oh yeah.
Right? I mean,
if I could do
do
commercials every day,
green room tent now, would they? I don't know.
Yeah, commercials in my experience, that was the best. Movies were good because you got more longer work, but I mean the day rates for commercials are fantastic. Usually it's twice what I would make in a day on a movie. And you see a lot of old guys doing the commercials. It's tough to get those gigs because it's a lot of the, you know, all the camera guys. Yeah, you know, the really aces, you know, the guys have been around forever. You know, that's kind of how they retire. They just do, you know, 10 or 11 commercials a year, and that's enough.
Right. And they're all shot within a half hour of home. And,
and you wrap early, and they're super easy, you know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, just really quick, I'm going to run out of time here in a second because I'm on that 45-minute time limit thing. I actually think I'm over somehow, but, you know, Mark, you were trying to distribute this movie and you were kind of getting some traction last fall into the winter, like a year ago, a little less than a year ago now. And Nigel, the whole storyteller thing, I mean, obviously I'm really close to it, but the people that might be watching this, which are probably very few, aren't. But you were also in a position where, things were you're trying to build a business and shit. And now we got this COVID-19 thing. Just really quick, Mark, how did this circumstance, like, did you have plans for the film this year, places you were going to go, things you were going to do to promote it that got fucking screwed by this pandemic, or has things gone the way you wanted anyway?
Well, for me, it's really just kind of affected my outlook on my next project.
Well, it's affected all of our fucking outlooks.
Right. Well, right. I guess everybody's in the same boat, right? But honestly, I had a bit of wonderful news for Hardface. During the pandemic, we got a little distribution deal. We're on a streaming
you didn't tell me that.
I didn't tell you that?
Did you? Did you tell me that? And I was all drunk at my dad's and didn't remember?
I'm not sure. I think I told your dad.
So where's it streaming? Where can people watch it?
They can watch it for free at UrbanFlix TV, urbanflixtv.com. It's just like Netflix, right? I mean, you can get it on the web, or they have apps on your iPad, your devices.
Throw it on my Fire Stick kind of thing?
So it's a $5 a month service, but there's a 14-day trial period. You can test it out, watch Hardface. If you don't like it, unsubscribe. It's free. But
Nigel, don't get screwed by that. I'll give you a copy of the movie. It's good. I'll make sure you get my copy so you can watch it.
So we linked up with a sales rep. I mean, I found this guy in San Francisco, and we did a 1-year gig with him, and he found this deal.
So this guy in San Francisco, did he see your movie somewhere, or did you reach out to him, or?
AFM, the American Film Market, it just took place, I believe, this past week, buying, the marketplace for films, all different this year, of course. I didn't even go last year, but their website is awesome and all the companies are listed. So I went through 350 companies of distributors and sales reps, and I found
and just said, hey, do you want it?
What's that?
Is that how that works? You just say, hey, do you want this?
Well, they break it down on the website on how you really should go about it. But basically, the first step is to find, of those 350 companies, or 400, whatever, which ones do you think are going to like your movie? And they list their catalog of films that they've distributed. And so I'm looking for documentaries. I'm looking for maybe like urban gritty stories.
Sports films, whatever it might be that might
So I whittled it down to like 30, and I started sending emails out. And I got a couple little bites, but this one guy, Phil Gorn from Wonderful Entertainment.
Wonderful?
He had a real short contract, and he was real upfront. Like, this is not like no strings attached. It's a 1-year thing. If you want to kill it after a year, no problem. And like 2 months later, he's like, oh, we got a deal. And so it's a modest deal, but it's a cash deal, which is kind of rare for filmmakers. Usually distributors are like, well, we'll own the movie forever.
And we'll give you a dime every time we make $100, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and then it's a classic thing that people have really gotten screwed. I mean, it was always a thing in the film world, like, oh, I got a distribution deal. Nowadays, that doesn't guarantee anything, and a lot of people have horror stories of losing their whole movie in a distribution deal.
Right.
But we got a small cash amount for 1 year on the streaming service, and that was in June when all that happened. And
nice.
That was a huge boost. I was like, oh, this is great. So I need to be marketing that more. So we'll see how that goes. They might renew it. If they don't renew it, then I'm going to do, in the spring, I'm going to do a 2.0 launch, and probably just launch it on Amazon Prime.
Right.
The thing about services like Prime, Amazon, or iTunes, people already have their credit card information in those apps. They're much more likely to click and watch the movie there than to go on UrbanFlix and put in their credit card.
Then to have to look for it, then have it come across. Yeah, without a doubt.
But I still encourage, it's a great place to, see the film. Yeah.
Right on. And then there's always hardfacemovie.com. You can
There's hardfacemovie.com. You can order the Blu-rays and DVDs, UrbanFlix, and then on maybe Amazon Prime. We'll see. What's that, Nigel?
I was just curious.
Yeah.
I was just curious what the budget was on that.
It's a good question. the I label the budget as like 100,000.
Oh wow, cool.
Yeah. Now that's broken down over like 5-6 years of like production, maybe some virtual cost in there. But when you add it all up, I mean, it kind of adds up. But I would not spend that amount of money again on a movie. I would say,
what do you mean? It was a good movie. What do you mean you wouldn't?
Well, no, you're right.
Again?
No. Here's the thing: as a filmmaker, you have to decide.
That's not bad. I mean,
No.
coming in at 100. That's
NIgel,
not
wait
bad
till
at
you
all.
see it. I'm actually kind of surprised that I thought it was a little more than that. I would have guessed a little more than that. Yeah. Okay. I would have.
Well, maybe I need to finally update the budget and really add this in. I mean, some of that stuff I find daunting, and then I feel that I'm kind of, what's the pursuit of this? Because I guess I think that you can make a movie in many different ways. I mean, shooting on film, if you're worried about the cost, you could literally shoot the movie and not even develop it. You could just shoot it, buy the film and shoot it, put it in your freezer, and wait till you have the money to develop it. So there's many different ways to kind of do it. That's not recommended.
I was gonna say, you lose your muse, you lose your impetus. You get to the end of it, you look at the footage, and you're like, "What the fuck was I trying to do?"
Well, yeah, you don't know, is it in focus or what? Yeah. I'm just saying, there's a lot of different ways of making a movie, and I mean, I just think you got to press forward no matter what. But yeah, the budget, and that's the thing. I mean, the budget ballooned a little bit because of a couple rookie mistakes I made. Right? I mean, I'm still thankful for the process and the learning process of using the Sony Music, but that was a pretty significant cost that we could probably cut out by
find other sources, find unlicensed sources.
Find other sources. Right. Yeah. So
what it is.
It is, yeah. But you have to decide as a filmmaker or as an artist, a musician, when you're putting money into a project, if it's your own money, and if you're happy with just making art and not making money, that's fine. But as a filmmaker, I think you should be really deliberate. You shouldn't be disappointed if you did a labor of love like Hardface, like I did, and then you're like, oh, why didn't Netflix buy it or HBO or anybody?
Nah, that shit doesn't matter. No, you do the shit because you enjoy it. I mean, if your whole thought process is to win something, then you're probably doing the wrong thing.
You're right. But you also want to make sure that you're not setting yourself up for some sort of disappointment, where you're spending this money and telling yourself you're doing it for the art, but you're secretly hoping that it's a big splash, right?
Yeah.
And if it's not a big splash,
you're the next independent film that breaks through, and then all of a sudden you got a big con.
But that is really, But it's about as likely as just of like somebody from some music label.
Yeah.
Being on your show.
I don't think you
guys want to get signed to,
I don't think, and NIgel, I mean, I've known you for a decade now. I don't think you've ever thought, any creative endeavor that anybody does, I think that in the back of their head at some point, in some capacity, they're thinking that somebody might notice it and it might be some big kind of thing. But as talented as creative as NIgel is, and as resourceful, he's one of the most resourceful people I know. NIgel, you've never had this idea that you're going to get famous someday.
No, absolutely not. It's funny that it's kind of tailors along what we're saying here. A couple of years ago, I don't know if you heard about this, Mark, but I want to say it was like 2015. Doritos did this challenge, like a Super Bowl challenge.
Mm-hmm. Oh, people make commercials for it.
Everybody just make a commercial. Right. We did one here locally. Jeff Barklage shot it. I don't know if you know him.
I know Jeff. He's one of the guys who's giving me stuff. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah, Jeff's really cool. He shot it, and it was cool. Like the whole crew came together. I think the prize was like $1 million, and we were all going to split it.
Was that the one where the guy busted the vending machine?
Yeah, that's the one that won.
Right.
Yeah, ours was like we did this. It was like a mummy thing. It was pretty cool. We shot it in the Hilton in the Netherland Plaza. Yeah, I thought ours was pretty good. I thought we had a decent chance at winning. We didn't even come close. I think it didn't do terrible. They ranked them. I think we were like 52 or something. It wasn't 52. Bad, I guess. I didn't realize they had
that many. I didn't realize they had that many entries because I thought the deal was that they showed all those ads during that Super Bowl for you to vote on, but there was a pre-vote to reduce it to that number. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
How does the budget like that work? Like who paid for that?
It was. I don't know paid for it. I know we all worked for free. It was kind of just a local, like all the grip.
Yeah, we're entering this contest, and do you want to take part?
Yeah, it was just a cool local thing to do.
Mhm.
And I think somebody, somehow we got the space to shoot in. We didn't have to pay for the space because we shot it in the middle of the night. So I really don't think there was much of a budget. And, all the props people, they just have extra stuff that they've collected. And I think that kind of went into like, all right, here's what we have. What can we make with this? We've got all these technicians. We've got this space. And, I don't think really they put much into it at all.
That's
everything was donated.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
okay.
That's the garbage pickings art direction. I think that probably happens a lot.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, who's got something from their house that looks like this?
Yeah, exactly.
So, Nigel, you've got a local studio that you're shooting real estate agents in with stuff. And has that changed a lot this year, or has it been pretty much the same since it's such an isolated circumstance?
You mean like since COVID?
Yeah, I mean, you and I talked about this, and I know that at least some of your clients, and I'm not going to mention anybody, obviously, but I know some of your clients are still coming into the studio and shooting and stuff. But there
was a real drastic drop off when everything first. I mean, everybody was so scared
right at the beginning. Yeah.
So I mean, it was pretty bleak for most of February, March, April,
right,
and then I think people were. Just dying to get out of the house too, and everybody's working from home. It was almost a breather. I feel like for some of the clients to to get out and do something, especially during the tail end of the lockdown there.
Right.
So it did really affect the studio in the beginning, and then it kind of we got back to where we were and
leveled out as it were. Well, it's interesting you say that because I mean, arguably things are way worse now than they were back in February, March, and April. And but it doesn't seem like there's any move towards serious I mean, I'm hearing things across the country about schools shutting down and stuff, but it doesn't seem like there's like a really rush to lock things down again. I mean, what do you guys think about that circumstance?
I know the local the local crew is really hurting right now because of this. I mean, there's just nothing going on. There was
as far as production goes.
Yeah, there was some political spots. Running up to the election.
Right.
But that's about it. And a lot of these guys haven't worked, really since, and, it always slows down around the holidays,
Sure. At least a little bit.
Yeah. Between like the end of December through February, usually not a whole lot going on. So, they're coming out of the slow months into a total, a lot of these guys haven't worked in quite a while. So.
Well,
I don't know. I'm not really in that business anymore, so I don't know what kind of measures they can do.
Because you run your own fucking show now.
Yeah, well, I know. A buddy of mine was working on a show. I think it was like Chicago PD, one of those like daytime police shows, and he said they had everybody up in hotels for like the duration. And
just parked, not even doing anything.
Well, like you don't get to go home at night, after.
I got you. When you're in production, there's no risk. Yeah. You can't.
So these guys were staying in a hotel. They wouldn't, they wouldn't see their families for like 4 months for all the principal photography. But it's better than not working, I suppose. So
yeah, 100%. I
really hope those guys can turn that around.
Yeah, I really hope that all of us can turn this fucking shit around. Hey, listen, I'm going to get cut off because of the 45-minute time limit. I can't thank you guys both enough for coming here. Will you guys do this again sometime so we can all be together for the whole duration?
Yeah, I'd like to do another one after I see the movie, Have more to talk about,
Nigel, I will bring a copy of the movie to the office at some point in the next week. I have it. I'll bring it. And Mark, do you still have T-shirts?
I do have T-shirts available on the website.
Hardfacemovie.com.
Yep. DVDs, Blu-rays, T-shirts. But yeah, I would definitely love to talk about the movie and the industry, and I want to, learn more about this. I love this. This is great.
Right on. I appreciate you. I mean, we're gonna get cut off, and thank you guys very much. Have a great night, Nigel. We'll touch base soon, man, and I'll get one of those T-shirts. Oh, and NigelMaxwell.com too, right?
Yes.